wrestling diehards only, this is the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in one final time to the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast here on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, Instagram account, and also the Idaho Wrestling News Facebook page. We do this live every Tuesday night during the high school wrestling season at 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 o'clock Pacific Time. And this is the last one because, well, the high school season is over. We had our state championships this past weekend. We are here to talk about all of the results, both individual and team-wise, the standout performers. And we, of course, will take all of your questions and shout-outs and comments live. So if you're live watching tonight on any of those places I just mentioned, thanks for being with us. This is why we do it. You, the diehard wrestling fans, and we want you to be a part of the conversation. We want you to steer where this thing is going tonight. So throw a comment in, tell us where you're watching tonight, and we'll get to it. Before I introduce our panel of experts tonight, I want to let everybody know that the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast and really all of IdahoSports.com's wrestling coverage all season long has been brought to you by Green Solutions Cleaning and Restoration. It's two brothers born in Rexburg, and they've been blessed to find a way to work with one another. Here's what they say. Dad put us on the wrestling mat at 5 years old, and through our childhood, we had a lot of success in high school and college. And through wrestling, we learned that having success not only takes hard work, but putting in more time than our opponents. And they say in our business, we put in the time and energy to make us great at what we do. We feel we have an edge and can help our customers have a great experience. They say we are the premium carpet cleaning company in the area. Their main focus over the last 3 years has been in water damage, emergencies, and disasters because, well, let's be real. Nobody wants to wake up to a foot of water in the basement. Now, that being said, they have learned how to de-escalate the situation and help the customer through the difficult times. They say we love East Idaho and are grateful for this area and our loyal customers. And so big thanks to Green Solutions Restoration for everything they have done for us here all season long on the Mat Chat Prepcast. Okay, let's bring on our panel of experts in the order they joined the chat tonight. Of course, this guy, he's like here half an hour before the show, getting his notes ready, getting ready to dissect everything. It is Coach Al Fontes. What's going on, Al?
Hey, Brandon, how you doing?
Doing great. It's nice to see you, Al.
Yeah, you too.
Also joining us tonight, we figured, hey, why shoehorn our girls wrestling experts into just a half an hour or 15 minutes? Let's have them on for the whole enchilada. So let's bring on from North Idaho, head coach of the Sandpoint girls wrestling program, Val Johansson. Val, what's going on?
Hello. Thanks for having us on early. This is kind of exciting.
Yes.
And there's so much to unpack. So
yes, so much to unpack for sure. Joining us from East Idaho, Brian Zollinger. What's up, Brian?
What's going on, diehards? One last time.
That's right. One last ride. And the fifth member of this Jackson 5, coach of the Buell wrestling program from the Magic Valley, Fred Bartlett. Fred, what's up?
How's it going? It's good to be here.
Yes, good to see you as well. Okay, we always start the show with the best thing that we saw from the past week of competition. First, comments already rolling in. Here's Travis Tyler from Sandpoint. Great seeing you, Al, and Brian this weekend. It was a great weekend overall. Mike Scholes giving a shout out to the first ever 6A. That's right. Used to be 5A, 6A this year. State champs. Go Post Falls Trojans. Here's Brian Twait, Meridian Warriors here. Congrats to the Post Falls boys on an amazing state tournament. They wrestled an amazing tournament and earned the title. Well done, Trojans. And Mike says, thank you, Brian. That's Brian Twait there, a little back and forth. Nathan Willoughby wants to give a shout out to Gabe Cox, 24-second pin in the finals from New Plymouth. We'll talk about that in a second for sure. And then here's Aaron Peterson. Green Solutions are the best. Yes, they are. No doubt about it. Okay, let's go ladies first tonight. Val, what was the best thing that you saw from the past weekend of state championship wrestling over in East Idaho?
I have two things, if that's allowed. My first was, it was amazing to see how many female coaches there were in the corner this year. It was 3 years ago, there was maybe three of us. And then this year, it seemed like almost every match had a female in the corner, and I thought a female coach in the corner, and I thought that was pretty awesome. And my second one is the table help during the Nevaeh Therian and Tommy Stone match, which had the final score of 26-19. That is just an incredible score. That match, if you looked away for a second, the lead changed. And the table help, and they just did a fantastic job keeping up with that. And for those of us who have volunteered in that position, that is an extremely difficult position in those type of matches. So kudos to them. And then, of course, there's 7 other things that I'm sure we'll be talking about that match specific that we would love to highlight later.
Of course. That's a good table setter for sure, though. Al, what was the best thing you saw from the past week?
There was a lot of them. There was a lot of great things. Overall, the competition came down to the wire in all the divisions, but I just want to give a kudos to Rocky Mountain's Gavin Brown. She won the girls 165-pound weight group. I remember a year ago she qualified for the state, and she was determined to not just place, but this year she wanted to win it. I tell you, it was a knockout, drag-out tournament, even in the semis. I think Brian, I think she wrestled a Loggy in the semis.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, that match was, it was tough. It could have gone either way, but she came back and beat a Lordy in the final again and achieved her dream. So she worked for it. So congratulations on that.
Absolutely. Fred, what was the best thing you saw from the past weekend of state championship competition?
I got to say, Elise Twait going undefeated, capping off her high school career with her 3rd state title. That's really hard to do. Really hard to go undefeated during a season, not have one little stumble or something go wrong. So that's really impressive. Look forward to seeing her wrestle at the next level.
I agree.
Special athlete for sure. Brian, best thing you saw?
Yeah, and that Gavin Brown story, I think, by the way, I think she was the lowest seed to win a state title. I think she was the 8th seed, and I think that was the lowest. So that's pretty cool. But overall, I think my favorite thing was exemplified by Brian Twait's comment already, is just the level of sportsmanship and camaraderie in the sport. I mean, it's such a competitive. I mean, you're out there battling, literally just fighting. And then to see the fans and the support, the love among teammates and friends from other teams, I think the state tournament is just such a great thing for everyone to get together. And it's true that wrestling is just a big family. And I think that was my favorite part of the tournament, and it is every year.
Yep. Here's Chris Hunt in the chat, kind of echoing those sentiments, Brian. Huge shout out to everyone that competed this weekend and to every wrestler who had the guts to go out there and compete this weekend. Amy in the chat says, shout out to Kylie Fowler taking state at 138, literally started wrestling 17 months ago. That's a pretty fast meteoric rise, no doubt about it. Here's Lucky Matt. Lane Morris, first ever state placer for Lakeside and only his 2nd year ever wrestling. Yes, that Lakeside Knights program over there in Plummer and Worley doing some pretty good things in its infancy as a program. And Brian says, congrats to the Rocky girls as well. They put together a great lineup and really earned the team title. Awesome to see teams jumping levels. And the best thing I saw from the past weekend, it was a couple of things. I think on the girls' side, Raylan O'Connor from Salmon successfully defending her 100-pound title. There was a lot of talented athletes in that weight class specifically. And so that's awesome to see, Salmon High School. We don't hear about a lot in other sports. So it's awesome that Raylan is able to carry the banner for Salmon in girls wrestling. And then the other best thing I saw was actually from my friend Adam Engel at the Magic Valley Times. He had this picture on X. Fred Bartlett, 4A Coach of the Year. How about it? That's a great hat you've got on too there, Fred.
Thank you.
Looks good. So that was the best thing I saw from the past week of competition. Here's Brock Steele in the chat. I would like to give a shout out or shrike to Clint Milroy. He hit me on prior to the finals, but I sat in the corner, boot rode, and scored 3. So we talked about that a lot leading up to state, Brian.
Yeah, I missed Mill. In fact, I asked Mill Iron, hey, when's this match we're hearing about with you and Brock? And he just laughed. So I must have missed it somewhere. I turned my head. I missed that match. Dang it.
It was over in a flash. Jeff Anderson says, how about the 2 unseeded freshmen from Post Falls that made the finals? And I guess that's a good starting point here, Al, because we got a lot wrong on our preview show this past week. We got some things right too, but how about Post Falls taking that 6A championship over Meridian? This was a tight one all the way down the stretch, 322 to 293. Each had 2 champs. Post Falls had 3 more placers, Al, and that really was the difference in this race.
Yeah, I watched it very closely. Kudos to both teams. It was a battle from the first whistle all the way entering the medal matches. It was Post Falls won some real close ones, and Meridian lost a few that they were expecting to win and just took it over the top. And once they got that 20-plus lead going into the final, it was difficult to catch them.
Yeah, shout out to Madison for placing 3rd as well. That was great for the Bobcats there from East Idaho for sure. Here is a shout out from Lynn to Riker Allen and Sawyer Sage. I believe those are the 2 Post Falls wrestlers that Jeff was alluding to earlier. Here's Kyle. Lewiston loves Fred. Hey, you're making fans statewide, Fred.
I love Lewiston. They're good people.
For sure. Eddie Card says, shout out to all athletes that qualified for state, and shout out to the Firth Cougars. Yeah, we'll talk about that 3A, 2A race in just a little bit. And Brian and Tiffany say, holy cow, what a great showing. They build it up right there with their youth programs. They are pushing us to new levels. Iron sharpens iron. I think they're talking about Post Falls and Meridian there, the rivalry between those two. And then when you look at the individual champions here, pretty well distributed, right? We had Coeur d'Alene with 2 champions, Post Falls with 2 champions, Nampa had 2 champs. You had Post Falls, of course, with Seth Martin at 190, Matthew Hamilton at 113. Brian, what was the most impressive individual champ from this 6A competition?
Man, I could go a long way. I mean, Seth Martin finishing undefeated on the season it's always an amazing accomplishment. There was only a select handful that made it undefeated. So Seth Martin there. But Neville's the freshman. That's always, anytime you come in as a freshman and win state, Cole Jensen, I think, is a freshman too. So
yeah, he is.
It's tough to say. I mean, what really struck me, that prior graphic you had, is I think Post Falls brought 20 or 22 with 18 placers. So out of 22 kids, they had 18 placers. And, we mentioned Sage and Allen, the freshmen showing up. They just really showed up for this tournament, and their coaches had them peaking at the right time. Just an amazing showing, really.
Yeah, I was really impressed with, obviously, Neville's from Meridian, freshman also, right? 126. Al, I thought Ryan Herchert from Nampa at 106 looked really good as well. And, of course, Draven Johns from Caldwell at 132. And Sean Hall from Canyon Ridge at 138. Those are guys we've been hyping up all season.
No, Sean Hall is the real deal. I mean, he's put a lot of time in the off season. His style of wrestling, he's very competitive, and made the finals without much of a fight. And he gave Seguin a pretty good match, and ended his chance of for a title, which is very difficult, but it was a great final. Kudos to both wrestlers.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's get caught up on the comments here, guys. Let's see here. Travis Tyler, of course, way to go, Sandpoint Bulldogs. Christian Ramirez, I think each parent drove a car. Parking was insane. That's a big parking lot too there at the ICCU Dome in Pokey. So to get that full is pretty impressive. Lucky Matt says, how about this, guys? Less than 10 years. I say Lakeside has at least one team state title. They're going to have to do it competing against much bigger schools because it's 3A and below that all compete against each other. Lakeside is a 2A school. Let's see. Joshua says Seth Martin was exciting to watch this year. Dominated every single match this year. Shout out to Logan Shaver getting that state title without his ACL. Went in for surgery yesterday. The kid is awesome and will be a wrecking ball next year when fully recovered. Aaron Peterson says, how about Rex Salas from Madison beating the guy in the finals that had beat him 3 times in the last 2 years? Yeah, Fred, the psychology there, because we saw this a lot in girls wrestling this year, right? Where you had lost to somebody previously or even a couple of times previously, but it motivates you, it fuels you, and you win the one that matters at state.
Yeah, I'd rather be the hunter than the hunted usually. So you got the right attitude.
Good spot to be in. Huge props to Avalos at 132 for pushing Johns as tight as he did as a sophomore. Super bright future for him. And here's Charles Smith, heart of a champion. Shout out to my niece. I hope I said this name right. Annika Jablonski from Highland High. at her district tournament, getting ready for her championship match, was told her brother passed away. With a heavy heart and wrestling at stake for her brother, not all champions need a medal around their necks. Val, that's a great reminder that, yes, we're here highlighting the champions, but for some athletes, going and competing is a big win in and of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just have to remember that. Like, there are so many stories and so many lives that are happening off the mat, that coming onto the mat is a place of peace and where they can focus and just compete and concentrate. And really, it can be very healing. And with that, there's a lot of students who will go home and with their heads held high, and some with some broken hearts this weekend. And I hope some of those wrestlers can just really look back and reflect on their tournament and hope and find those moments where they can have their head held high and be proud of.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know for us, we had our 120-pound senior who blew out her knee 2 weeks before districts, and she was just so determined to wrestle. Like, I'm going to give it my all, and made it all the way through the blood rounds. And
that's remarkable.
With a knee that she could barely walk on, but she was, it's just that grit and perseverance. And that's why we love wrestling, right? Like, that's the lessons that it teaches our kids.
Yeah, incredible for sure. Al, here are the 6A championship by the numbers here. 2 freshmen, 1 state titles. We talked about those 2 already. How about the seeding statistics here? Really, number 1 seeds and number 2 seeds, basically 8 and 8 from each weight class there. So if you were a 1 or a 2 seed, there was about a 50% chance that you were going to place either first or second. But all this data you compiled, what did anything surprise you from the 6A tournament?
No, if I go back in time and history and look at it, that's usually the norm. Sometimes the numbers are higher in some of the categories, but this is the norm, especially where the top 6 seeds where you had 74 out of 90, 82%. That's usually the norm, right around there. But no, nothing really surprised me on this one. It's pretty much the norm.
Okay. Let's see. We've got Brock in the chat here. Avalos is a bad man. Tough, my kid's wrestling partner. So that's pretty awesome to see there as well. So we had a 6A school, of course, win a boys championship in Post Falls, but we had a 6A girls program win a state title as well. Congratulations to the Rocky Mountain Grizzlies. 106 points, 1 champion, 6 placers. Val, we talked about it going into state. It was going to take, we thought, probably 4 or more placers to be in the mix and 5 or more to really feel good about your chances to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rocky, their girls were just fantastic. Just watching them all day, they seemed dominant. Eagle was my preseason pick, so just really happy to see them there in second. And again, with 4 placers, like, if you get your girls to the medal rounds, you get your wrestlers to the medal rounds where they can just score those points, it just really bumps you up. Sandpoint we took 4. We had 3 placers. I'm sorry, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on how many we took, but we had 3 placers. Sorry, we took 7, 3 of them placed. Meridian, Grace, and Thunder Ridge. And just really my big surprise, and it probably shouldn't have been, was CUNA. Those girls just wrestled super tough and consistently all year, and that definitely showed watching them progress through the state tournament.
Yeah, CUNA had a really nice district tournament, and they kind of carried that momentum into state. Sandpoint takes 7th. Buell takes 8th. The difference was, 2.5 points? And so, Fred, I guess for the offseason, Val gets the bragging rights.
You bet. We'll give him to her.
He can have them.
You both are such good sports. I appreciate it. Fred, tell me a little bit about Grace taking 5th. That's pretty awesome with 3 placers and 54 points. Must have been some high scoring individuals.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Grace was kind of my surprise. Like, I knew they had some tough girls, but Josie Newby took 3rd, and then Bella Edens and Skyla Cloud took 4th. So pretty high placers there. That's a good job. And they brought 4 girls and 3 placed. That's tough.
Here's the individual champs. Val, who impressed you the most?
Oh my gosh, there were so many in this group. Gavin Brown and Alexis Johnson. We didn't get to see Alexis Johnson wrestle in Idaho very much this season. She wrestled a lot in Washington. And So she just kind of came in and I think wrestled at the North Idaho Rumble and then a couple of duels and then at our district tournament. And she just came in this year and just really dominated at 120. I would say that was a big one for me. Gavin Brown was a big one. Those are my two. Kylie Fowler at 138, that also extremely impressive in a very tough weight class.
Fred, which individual impressed you the most?
Well, I already mentioned Elise. Like she was really impressive. My girl Roxy did a good job. And then I was actually really impressed with Kyler Scott, who's not on this list. She took second. Kiana Conrad's been pretty much dominating everybody, and she managed to take that match to overtime. She ended up losing, but she did a good job of competing. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was nice to see Kiana Conrad and Olivia Bezdechek defend or go 2 for 2 in their high school careers. Certainly there as well. And of course, Amy Hartman from Mountain Home caps off an incredible career with her 3rd state championship, right?
Yeah, being an All-American, she's 4-time finalist. Yeah, she looked solid throughout the tournament. She had a great match in the finals with Rocky's wrestler, and it was tight. And so, no, kudos to her. Yeah.
Yep, it was awesome to see for sure.
She also did announce that she's going to be wrestling for Dickinson University there in North Dakota.
Good for her.
Awesome. Okay. That's great. NAIA program there at Dickinson State. Here are the girls' championships by the numbers. No freshman champions this year, 7 seniors. And so, Fred, does that kind of track? Because it's kind of been this senior group that has been some of the pioneers that have paved the way a little bit in girls wrestling. And we had a lot of talented seniors just wrap up outstanding careers.
Yeah, for sure. I'm actually kind of surprised, though, because our sophomore and our freshman class have been so strong. So that's actually surprising to me. But looking at it, like the seniors that we have at the top are really good. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised.
Right. I mean, because in girls with the all classification format, I mean, you got to bring it every single match. And so it's going to get tougher and tougher to defend those titles as you go along for sure. Okay. Some comments coming in here. Here's Tiffany and Brian. This weekend, I'm reminded that I both love and kind of hate this sport. The highs are high, but the lows are much lower and doesn't balance out. My heart breaks for so many of those kids, but I trust they will be better and grow from it. Yeah, Val, as a coach, those are some of the most difficult conversations to have, right? With an athlete that came in expecting one result, didn't quite go the way they wanted to. How do you handle that situation?
We get really down on their level and we talk about how far they've come, right? We talk about where we started and what it looked like when they first walked into that room. Some with 0 wrestling IQ, some with minimal club experience, and some with experience. But we just talk about the journey overall because it's not just that last match that counted. We look at it holistically and we just really talk about it and we focus on the positives. Focus on the positives and then identify where we can learn.
Yeah.
But in that moment, it is just really about hopefully you've built that relationship with that athlete where you can just sit down on the floor there in the dome and just have a heart-to-heart and just let them know it's going to be okay. This moment doesn't define them, and we get right back to it.
Yeah, that's a really great way to say that there, Val. And because it is in the moment, it's very raw. It gets easier the further away you get from it, but boy, in the moment, it sure is tough.
So, Brandon.
Yes, Al.
I was going to say I learned this from one of my coaches many, many years ago when I said, well, I want to win this championship or, win this or that. He says, to achieve your dream, you have to conquer the dreams of those that you wrestle. So that's the reality of wrestling in life. You got to conquer their dreams to achieve your dreams. So, yeah, wrestling tells you the truth.
Yeah, boy, that's pretty cutthroat when you think about that. You're extinguishing someone else's flame so yours can burn brighter. But that's what competition is all about. Here is Coach Snyder. Kiana Conrad and Shauna Anderson were both awesome from Blackfoot and Thunder Ridge, respectively. Shout out here from HA for JoJo Slider, Jolie from Lewiston. So great to see her get that state championship. Here's Tiffany and Brian. Fred, looks like a pretty awesome team. Idaho for junior duels.
Yeah, let's go.
Team Idaho to Iowa. Tyson Baxter seconds that. Here is, hey guys, Coach Ramirez here from Rocky. Go Rocky Mountain Girls, bringing home our first state title, placing 6 of 8. We're looking to return just as tough and make a run for it next season. Al, that's exciting. But Brian, as we found out for Thunder Ridge, it's hard. It's hard to come back and defend that title, although Rocky's got a good foundation in place.
They do. Target on their back now, but, they've got a good foundation. They're bringing a lot back, and they're the hunted now. So but I think they're in a good position. It's a great program. Coach of the year there as well, the 6A Coach of the Year. Congrats to Rocky Mountain on that as well.
Well, it starts now, today, for next year.
Yep. You got Monday off, and now Tuesday back at it. Yeah.
From the girls tournament also should be noted, the 4 sophomore state champions, 2 of them are now 3 of them are 2-time state champions. So we still have 3 girls alive looking for that, 4-time state champions, which would be the first girls since it's been officially sanctioned. I think we have some that before it was officially sanctioned that might have been 4-time, but they would be the first 3, and they kept the dreams alive. So that's pretty cool to watch.
Yep. Pretty epic for sure. Here's Kelly Walters Drake. Super proud of Taylor Drake, first girl at CUNA High School to win a state championship. Yeah, Fred, that's a big part of it too, with girls wrestling still being fairly new. History is being made almost every time there's a state tournament.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Taylor's a hard worker too. She does everything in the off season, so it's hard to get her off the mat. So she's a fun girl to be around. She works hard. She deserves it.
Here is Birdwatcher with a couple of comments here. Ava Buey is going to get it next year. She's growing each day. Also, congratulations to Raylyn O'Connor. She wrestled well from Salmon. Tyson says, my daughters and I are rooting for Taylor. Yay, from CUNA there. Coach Ramirez, again, in the chat here, great job to all schools, coaches, and fierce female athletes who competed, for sure. And then here's a couple of just kind of philosophical, Eddie Card, well said, 100% all facts there for what Val and Al were saying earlier. And then here's Chris in the chat. Wrestling isn't the greatest sport because the medals are the best, but because the most valuable lessons come from struggle. And nowhere do you get to struggle like in wrestling. Yes. Puts a new emphasis on the struggle is real for sure when we talk about wrestling. Okay, Fred, let me get your thoughts on this. This is something we talked about off and on throughout the season. Here's Coach Snyder. The girls need to follow the national weights. Add the weights. It's hurting our girls in Idaho. And here's John. I agree with Coach Snyder. We need to follow national weights. How close are we to adopting the national standard?
I think we're real close. I think the IHSAA is looking to adopt those for next year, so that would be exciting. I also think we need more state placers, more state champs. I'd like to see us divide into some separate divisions, small schools, big schools. So,
yes, and expand those brackets a little bit to get more opportunities, right, Val? Especially up in like North Idaho, where there's a lot of smaller schools that have really good individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this year, just looking at the data from our district, like it just really showed only having 2 qualify to state is extremely tough in our district. We qualified 16 and we took 47% of the medals I might be reading that wrong, or 19% of the medals broken down over the 4 districts. I mean, that's pretty impressive with we were least representative of all the districts at 16%. And I think that Fred is absolutely right. Like breaking it down between a big school, 6A, 5A, and then everybody else, which is where kind of the girls' numbers line out anyway, would be extremely helpful to get just more girls to state. So get those more girls to state, it's going to help grow the sport more, right? Because then girls actually feel like I can get there. I have a real opportunity to get there.
Yeah.
It's pretty discouraging. I know for a lot of our North girls who were like top 2, like that's tough. That's tough with the level of competition up here.
Yeah. There were some good girls that were at home not advancing through districts. And you mentioned it, Val, lowest number of representatives, and that is from 2 districts, districts 1 and 2 combined for their district tournaments this year. So
I'd like to see more state placers, more state champs going back to their communities and showing the younger girls that they can do something like that too. So
absolutely,
it'd make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Brett, I think it's inevitable, but one thing we'll have to look at is logistics too. If it keeps growing, how we would do that. Would it go to a 3-day tournament? If we add more people in that competition, and we had 16 mats, it ran pretty flow. If we had, would it, you split the girls, would it be like 2 16-girl brackets or 8? How would they do that, you think?
Well, I'd like to see them split into 3 divisions based on the numbers. Do a 6A, a 5A, and then the rest. And maybe we go to 8-man, 12-man brackets to start. So we grow.
That makes sense.
I think we could fill 8-man brackets right now with solid girls.
Yeah.
They'd have better record than some of the boys that are in the tournament.
Yep.
And also, even looking like this tournament this year ran extremely fast. I mean, we were taking hour-long breaks in between sessions. So, I mean, I there was, probably 6-7 hours there, 6 hours that we were waiting.
I think it's inevitable. I think people should start planning how they're going to do it logistically and working on it. So when the time comes, boom, you're ready.
I'll tell you, when I was in high school, it was a 3-day tournament, and I liked it a lot. I liked Friday night semifinals. There was something that we lost when we started doing Saturday morning semifinals, like the electricity, just everybody was in there. Friday nights was pretty special. I wish we could get that back. So.
Yep. We will see. We'll see where we go with it for sure. More shout outs here. Shout out to Kylie Fowler, 138, Middleton's first girls state champion. Tiffany and Brian, those Fowler girls are so gritty and fun to watch. All gas, no brakes. Their gas tanks are amazing. Congrats. Coach Snyder, Fred, like always, 100% correct. More divisions. Here's Kara. Shout out to Alexis Johnson being the 120 girls state champ. Also the first girl at Lake City to be a state title holder, which is awesome. Daniel says it's crazy that any district has more than 6 guaranteed qualifiers, less guaranteed spots, more at large. Girls and 6A come to mind. Yeah, especially in girls where it's an all-class format. Certainly, I think you could use some criteria, especially because, Val, I feel like in girls wrestling especially, like, for example, Thunder Ridge came up to North Idaho and competed against all of the North Idaho teams. I feel like there's more data crossover with girls wrestling.
Yeah, because I really think they see each other, so especially down south, right? It was really apparent, like, wow, those girls saw each other a lot, and they really just wrestled like they knew each other. And so that cross data, and I mean, Thunder Ridge coming up, CUNA came up, we came down. We would like to see more of that happen. We need more of that to happen.
Yep, for sure. Here's Tyson Baxter. Fruitland has a big girls group coming up in the next few years. Keep an eye out. That's a good opportunity for us to pivot because if the Fruitland girls are coming, well, geez, the rich are going to get richer here, Brian, because Fruitland won again on the boys' side in dominant fashion, 294.5 points. American Falls took second, Snake River third. That's pretty remarkable that 2 teams from District 5 took second and third. 2 champions, 14 placers, and for Fruitland now, another state championship, Brian.
Yeah, and stunning there, really in the top 5 with South Fremont, American. Well, I guess just American Falls and Snake River at the same conference because they beat each other up and they're still able to pull it off. I mean, Fruitland, man, they're going to be good for years to come too. They're not going anywhere. They've got the horses there, well-coached team, and so if they're bringing girls along, that's going to be impressive.
Yeah, Al, here are the 4A championships by the numbers. Did anything really jump out to you when you were putting this data together?
No, there wasn't too many surprises. I mean, usually that's the norm. Usually you get a couple freshmen, a few sophomores, but the majority is the junior and seniors when it comes down to state champions. Placers, that was about the norm. No, overall it was no surprise. Pretty much a good cross section of the state.
Yeah. We had 12 number 1 seeds take first place. I'd have to look at the other. That might be the highest of any classification. Al, do you know off the top of your head?
I got so many numbers going through my head right now. That's definitely one of the highest. Yes.
Well,
I think 3A had 13 number 1 seeds, so I think 3A is even higher.
8 for 6A, 12 for 5A. So they're tied there. And then, 3A, 13. You're right, Brian. Brian. Okay. Here are the individual champions from the 4A state tournament. Fred, tell me a little bit about, we know Gabe Finley at 285, and he's not 285. He is significantly lower than that, right? Dude's an animal and just wrestled like way up, right?
Yeah, he weighs about 215. So it was just a better move for us as a team. We have a tough sophomore that ended up third. We thought maybe he could make the final, so he just kind of decided to wrestle up for that reason. So I like the way he wrestles heavyweights too. He doesn't try to manhandle them. So
absolute stud. It's kind of like in football where a smaller nose tackle can get past some of those bigger offensive linemen sometimes, for sure. Tell me a little bit, Fred, about Raiden Pugsley, the champ at 138, also from Buell.
Yeah, he's a hard worker. He was second last year behind Jackson Packer, so wasn't a bad loss last year. He's just he's confident. He works hard. He's trying to tech and pin everybody he wrestles. So with that attitude, he does pretty good. So.
Al, who was the top individual that caught your eye here, champion-wise, from the 4A?
Well, first, I want to give kudos to Bowden Banta for winning his 4th state title. He's an All-American. I know he's worked hard for that. One of the kids that stood out for me is Marcus Ailman of Fruitland. I mean, he took second as a freshman, third. And I remember last year talking to his dad and him, and he's like, my goal is to win it. And he did win it in championship format. So, yeah, he caught my eye in the tournament. It was one of his goals, and I watched him during the offseason, train pretty hard. So congratulations on that title.
How about you, Fred? A standout individual from the 4A tournament?
Yeah, Grayson Packer went undefeated. He's 16-0 this year. It was pretty impressive as a freshman. And he doesn't cut any weight. He worries about getting better at wrestling, and he will be tough to beat.
He is.
Yeah. And Brian, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to go Packer as well. Just that's amazing. He's on rarefied air to be an undefeated state champion freshman. But on top of that, Blaze Turner, American Falls, a sophomore at 190, taking state is pretty amazing. And I think we should note, I think Mason Aiken, their coach Googleman texted me, and they announced it at the tournament, 231 victories. I think I don't know if there's official data anywhere, but I think that is now the all-time state record for
wow.
So 231 is pretty crazy.
Wow. That's incredible. Whoa. That's crazy. Okay. And then as I'm looking at this list here too, I want to give a shout out to a couple of the Weezer guys, Luke Sarich at 165, Cash Cobb at 175. They're both football players, bad dudes. So it's nice to see them. And Caden McKenzie from Fruitland as well, 157, just been a stud all season long. Looks like we've got some comments coming through here in the chat. Let's see. Let me clear this real quick here. I got too much stuff going on. Okay. A residual girls comment. Shout out to Shauna Anderson and going back to back as a state champ from Thunder Ridge. Very proud of her going undefeated and making quick pins through her bracket. Yeah, Val, in terms of navigating the bracket, the quicker you can finish your match in the first round, the semifinals, the more you'll have in the tank theoretically for the championship, right?
Yes, you would hope so, but that was not the case in a lot of our brackets. I mean, we had so many matches go the distance early on in those first couple of rounds, and there were some upsets, and it was just very interesting to watch. There wasn't too many like quick pins right away. I mean, of course there were some, but a lot of these matches went a lot longer than I think like some of us would have predicted, which is nice, right? That just means that level of competition is rising. Yeah. And you're not just seeing maybe a bottom seed or a last bottom seed versus a top seed. Sometimes those matches can still be competitive, and I think that the girls bracket really highlighted that overall.
Yeah, it was a remarkable competition for sure. We got some 4A comments rolling in here from Chris Hunt. Man, Grayson Packer is the real deal. 60-0 as a freshman, hitting the biggest tournaments in the state along the way. The winningest wrestler in the state this year. That's a pretty good title. I'd have to look at some of the other undefeated wrestlers, but boy, 60 wins in a year, Brian. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it is the highest. I think Seth Martin was next with 53 wins. I think 8 undefeated wrestlers total in the state, and Packer led them all 60. He's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Tyson Baxter says, congrats to Nate Googleman from American Falls. And here's a question for you, Fred. Brock Steele wants to know, can Lincoln not rain, but train? Can Lincoln train with Pugsley?
Yeah, sure. Anytime. He knows where I live.
Yeah. That's awesome. Hey guys, here's John Blaisdell in the comments. Googleman undefeated, winning his third, legit. And yeah, here's also from YouTube, Googs. Shout out to Nathan Googleman, undefeated and 3-time state champ.
Also signed at Utah Valley, I think the Monday before the state tournament. So that's another D1 commit going into senior year. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. We talked about 60 wins this year. Here's Lance in the chat. He says Mason Aiken had 63, but was it undefeated?
It wasn't undefeated. That's the difference. Yeah. Aiken had more, but undefeated, it was Packer with 60.
Yeah, that's the distinction there. Girls comment from Tyson Baxter. Charlie Noah, Tri-Valley Titan, one to watch in the girls in the years to come. She, really put herself on the map when she beat Jolie Slider earlier this year. Jolie got her back, of course, but yes, Charlie Noah for sure is going to be a fun one to watch. Here's HA. Congratulations, Packer fan. And Chris Hunt says Googleman pulled out a ton of late clutch wins. He knows how to win. That's for sure. Yeah, winning in the DNA. Okay, we had a comment earlier from John Blaisdell. He is the coach of the Malad Dragons, guys. So let's transition to our 3A, 2A, 1A breakdown. Congratulations to Malad, the state champs, Al. 3 champions, 11 placers for 14 guys at this level. Yeah, no surprise that they won the championship.
No, just like we said, one of our predictions, they would definitely be in the hunt, and they wrestled tough all weekend. Looked solid. I was impressed with them.
Ryrie took second, Kellogg third. Declo and New Plymouth round out 4 and 5. Val, Kellogg was our pick coming in. It was a trendy pick. They came up just a little bit short, but still 7 placers for the Wildcats is pretty outstanding.
Oh, I think that's fantastic. Very proud of Kellogg. We see them quite a lot during the season, so we're super happy for them in 3rd place.
Yeah. Shout out to St. Mary's finishing in the top 10 there as well, tying for 8th place there. Here's the 3A, 2A tournament by the numbers. Brian, you noted it. 13 number 1 seeds took 1st place, so this was really top heavy. But from there, it was kind of spread out. Second, 3rd, 4th. Really showed the depth in some of these weights, 1 through 4 or even 5 or 6 sometimes.
Yeah, this was, one of the closer battles between the top 3 there. I mean, early the first day, you still weren't sure if it was going to be Malad, Ryrie, Kellogg. New Plymouth was doing really well the first day. Declo was, that one, we didn't talk a lot about Declo coming into it. But Malad is tough, and it's another team that they're not going anywhere. Their state champions were, sophomores, underclassmen. I think Willie from Malad is a junior. So Malad's not going anywhere. They've built a great program there, and it's going to continue for sure.
Yes. Here are your individual champions from the 3A, 2A classification. Malad champions from Jack Willie at 106. Orrin Miller at 285, the North Fremont transfer, and Drake Morrison from Malad also at 150. I think after that, Al, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the only other school that had multiple champions was Glenn's Ferry, right? Henry Thomas and Gabe Mullenberg.
Yeah, they had 2. No, Mullenberg's a 4-time finalist, 3-time champions. Kudos to him. He wrestled tough, and then kudos to Wallace Durfee. I mean, he won his 3rd state title from Declo. He looked solid in the tournament, so I was impressed by him as well.
And how about Val? 3 North Idaho champions from 3 different schools up there in the CIL, the Central Idaho League. Cole McClemtag from Priest River at 144. Aiden Yearout from St. Mary's, 165. And then Colton Story from Kellogg, who crossed 100 career wins earlier this year at 113. That's good diversity from the North.
Oh, it's fantastic diversity at North, and can't wait to see that grow. We're definitely missing Bonner's Ferry on this list, and hopefully they'll be showing up next year.
Yep, for sure. So those are your individual champions. Let's get caught up on the comments here in the chat. Let's see here. We've got hey, Coach Schneider. Hey, Brandon, don't you be skipping the 5A. Hey, we're saving the best for last. Okay. This was the juiciest of the matchups. Don't worry. Eddie from Firth, congrats to all 3A wrestlers. Firth took 8th with 5 placers and 1 champion. That was Carter Britton. Kevin Mullenberg, Glenn's Ferry, 2 champions. Fred, that's pretty remarkable. Glenn's Ferry is a 2A school. They were competing against a lot of bigger 3A schools to have 2 individual champs. The only other school besides Malad to have multiple individual title winners. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, they got a great coach. Cody Fisher does a really good job. He's been around for a while, so it's not surprising to me. So, plus they're orange and black. So,
yeah, something about the Magic Valley and Orange, Jerome and Buell and Glenn's Ferry. Yeah, they got it going on for sure. Here's Miria Garcia. Shout out to Marcus Garcia from New Plymouth, getting 2nd place after not wrestling for the past 2 years, ending his senior year with a bang. Al, that is tough. That's hard to do. Sit out 3 years, come back, take 2nd. That doesn't happen a lot.
Not very often, but as you can tell, the kid was hungry, and he came out and wrestled tough. I saw a couple of his matches, and you can see the determination in him. So congratulations on that.
Yep. Let's see. Here's Callie Smith. Malad did amazing this year. State champ for the team, academic team as well. 3 champions. And their first girls placer, Bella Smith. They are growing next year. Watch out. And yeah, Coach Blaisdell echoes that. Malad had a pretty neat finish with the academic team and individual champs. It was a fun race overall. More love for Malad here from Coach Schneider. Great job, Oren Miller. Way to handle life adversity and come out a champion for sure. And then here is Kevin Mullenberg from Glenn's Ferry. Gabe Mullenberg wasn't scored on during the tournament, Brian. Pitched the shutout.
Yeah, that's always Mullenberg's he's a hammer. That would have an impressive tournament, no doubt about it.
Yep.
Somebody's phone's ringing.
Yeah, the phones are ringing all over.
That
phone. Sarah Thomas says, super proud of our Glenn's Ferry pilots for sure. Max Oswald, he writes for the Bonner County Daily Bee and does a fantastic job covering Sandpoint and Priest River up there. He says Priest River's Cole McClimtag goes back-to-back. He has the most wins, pins, and takedowns in school history. Darian Ratzlaff places 3rd as the 9 seed at 215 pounds. He beats a kid he lost to at districts and then pins the 2, 5, and 6 seed to get the bronze. Brian, that's quite a run.
Yeah, he had an amazing tournament. That is anytime you take out 3 seeded wrestlers to get there, for a pretty special tournament for sure.
Yeah. Here's Aaron. McClimtag is a great kid, and James Hansen from Ryrie is a hammer. Yes, he was an individual champion as well. Speaking of hammers, yeah, just a sophomore. Yeah. Googleman says Drake Morrison is a hammer and a true champion as well.
Another state champion sophomore. We got a couple in a row.
And we've got orange and black love in the chat here. This is for Malad. This is for Glenn's Ferry. And then we also have Chuck here. Shout out to Elon Shank. I hope I said that right. Lost his first match and then won 5 straight to take 3rd in the consolation semis. Avenged the first round loss. That's what makes Fred wrestling so great. You know, you could face somebody and lose, and then you come back in those blood rounds and face them a second time and get revenge.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things in wrestling is when you lose to somebody early in a tournament and you get an opportunity. It doesn't happen very often. You get an opportunity to avenge a loss of the same tournament within a couple of days of each other.
Yep, pretty incredible for sure. Okay, a couple of late comments for American Falls from our 4A wrap up here. American Falls also had 3 state champs from Lisa there. And then Tyson says American Falls will be tough next year. Well coached for sure. Okay, let's wrap up with what was the most exciting team race there was. And that was the 5A competition where, well, we all said in the pre-show, oh, yeah, Minico, they've got the horses. They've got the quantity. Bishop Kelly's walking this tightrope, and it's going to be like almost impossible to pull off. And Well, Brian, Bishop Kelly did it. They squeak out a 3-point win over Minico after these two teams shared the title last year after tying for first.
Yep, it came down. I mean, that was so fun to watch. And we knew BK was going to have so many in the finals, and every one of their kids that needed to pulled through, did what they did. And then it was fun to see at the end with Tyler Jordan taking pictures with the BK team, because that came. We talked about it before we started the show. You know, he's wrestling Preston Sonner-Craney in the finals, and if Sonner-Craney wins that, Minico wins the team title. So again, just came down to the last. That was again just super fun to watch. Great athletes on both teams, but Bishop Kelly just did something amazing with the athletes that they have, and everybody showed up.
Yeah, no champions from Minico. I was stunned when I saw that. And BK, of course, had 4. Holton Crane at 106, Jake Mesher at 138, Matt Martino at 144, Carlos Valdez at 157. Al, of those 4 champions from BK, which one was the most impressive to you?
Matthew Martino winning his 4th state title. He joins his brother Christopher as brothers that won 4 in a row. I don't think he had a match go past a minute 30 in the whole tournament. He pretty much dominated. You know, he was out most of the season, but he just methodically went out there and showed why he's a champion. So I'd say Matthew Martino.
Yep. And really, Brian kind of alluded to it. What it all hinged on was at 190, Val, where Jordan Tyler from Sandpoint wrests the title away from Preston Sonner-Craney. He's probably going to be an honorary Bishop Kelly Knight.
He more than likely is all. Yes. I'm sure they're going to send him a key to the school. It was pretty awesome. And one of the best things I saw was at the end of that match with Jordan and the Minico kid was in the last, I think, 7 seconds, the match was at hand. I think it was 11-2. And they just embraced in like a moment of just solidarity, exhaustion, and just brotherhood. I mean, they just embraced for the last 7 seconds. And I just thought that was so special, and what a display of sportsmanship, just at its finest.
You know, Jordan's a great kid. I talked to him earlier in the year, and I asked him what his goal was. At least I asked him last year when he took second to same kid. He goes, I'm going to win it next year.
Yep.
And I'm determined. And when I saw him this year and he won that first match, he goes, nothing's going to stop me. I'm that focused. So kudos to Jordan for doing that. I wish him the best in the years to come. I hope he continues to go on to college and wrestle, because I don't think he's reached his full potential yet.
Yep.
No, not at all. He has he has a great career ahead of him.
Yep. A lot of comments rolling in here, guys. So let's see. Here's Corey Green, guys. Green Solutions. What other sport can you watch all divisions of athletes teams at the state event at once? It's truly a remarkable sight to behold. All the cheers from the respective schools is so fun. Wrestling is the best sport on the planet. Yeah, Al, we had you on the media pass and you were roaming all over. I think you wore out your shoes, right? Going from mat to mat, checking out all the action this past weekend.
I'll be honest with you, I was getting dizzy. I mean, I got people texting me. I got people texting me back in California. Did you see this, see that? I mean, it was fun. I was in heaven, to be honest with you. I mean, when you're up in the stands, you can hear the noise and the action. But when you're on that floor, the energy was twofold. Just great wrestling environment.
Yeah, pretty awesome. This is kind of a hodgepodge of comments coming in here. Eddie Card, 3A 165 was a stacked bracket. Fun to watch at that level. Here's Kenna Wagoner, Eli Noah, Tri-Valley state champ. Tri-Valley won the 1A, 2A state championship. Yeah, Fred, this is something they do for the 3A, 2A classification. Whichever school was the highest placer among those really small schools, the 2As and 1As, they get their own individual banner to bring home. So even though they didn't win against the bigger schools, they still get recognized for being the highest among their peers. I think that's pretty cool.
That's very cool. Tri-Valley, I think, brings just about everybody back next year too. They might be bringing home that trophy and a 3A trophy. I'm not sure how that works. They get both trophies.
Yeah, double up. Yeah, that would be interesting.
I want to give a shout out to DJ Nieder. I mean, 2 years in a row, he came up short of winning a state title, and he finally won a state title. So congratulations for him for reaching that pinnacle of his high school career.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And the rubber match with Thompson and to get the fall there was fun to watch for sure.
Yeah, We had several East Idaho champions here. If we pull this back up here, Brian, we had Saxton Scott, of course, winning the title at 132. We had Aiden Takita from Skyline, 113. Maddox Jones from Bonneville at 165, and DeWande Dillis from Blackfoot at 215. Austin Reeves, the heavyweight from Hillcrest. I'll be honest, Brian, I didn't know a lot about Maddox Jones and DeWande Dillis. But
Maddox was third last year at 160. And had a solid season all year. And DeWande placed, I think, at state at I don't know if he was I think he was 190 last year. So it was fun to watch. And Reeves, he came out of nowhere this year to put on, I don't know if he was 215 or 190, but he had to put on a solid 50, 60 pounds and just had a really dominant season.
Yeah. And shout out to the two Lakeland Hawks as well as Val, Zach Teal from Lakeland at 98, Carson Leonard at 120.
Yeah. And both of those guys had great seasons and were very consistent all season. It was great to see them win their state titles.
Yep. It was a lot of fun for sure. Getting caught up on the comments here. Let's see. Shout out to Peyton Martindale, state placer. Way to work hard. Keep it up. That's from Alfonso. Sam Seguin, congrats to Matt Martino. And here's way to go Contreras at 120. Such an emotional achievement. Glad to see him back and better than ever. Go Bulldogs. Martino, what a stud. a lot of love for Martino in the chats, of course. Brock says the horses BK has, maybe they win 6A or at least compete. Al, what do you think?
Oh, definitely. I see kids in the 3A, 4A, 5A can compete with anyone in the state. Across the board, there's some talent, and yeah, definitely they have that talent to do that.
Yeah. BK did opt up in a couple of sports this year, boys and girls soccer and boys and girls swimming, to compete against the 6A schools. Maybe wrestling will be next for the Knights. Here's Nate Gugelman. DJ Nider, state champ, shows tenacity after being there 2 other times before. We talked about that. Tyson Baxter, Kobe Baxter, next year, a guy to watch from Fruitland. Martino coming back from such a massive injury and being a 4-time champ is amazing. Yeah, Fred, Martino didn't wrestle like almost the entire regular season. He was pushing just to get back in time to get enough matches, to qualify for state. It's a pretty remarkable story.
Yeah, he's a tough kid. I was watching him warm up at Raleigh Lane. I was like, man, he looks pretty good. I wasn't sure if he'd come back, but I think being able to be a teammate, win a state title, that doesn't come around very often. So I'm sure he wanted to jump on that.
Yeah, and he has great workout partners too. Kudos to Carlos Valdez, who won his second state title and 4th medal overall. That room, they have some great workout partners, and it shows when they wrestle. So,
yeah, I was going to say, I bet Martino has the state champion with the least amount of wrestling time in a season in maybe history. He didn't go outside, as far as I know, he didn't go outside of the first round once all season. That's insane. I know it was a short season, but that's still pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Here's Chris in the chat, guys. Got to shout out the toughest wrestler I know who wrapped his career this year after his 4th state medal, finished 2nd, Riker Vale. He's overcome shoulder surgery, a dislocated tibia, a dislocated jaw, and much more through this time. Love that kid. Brian, this is the guy we were trying to think of last week. We were talking about a guy who dislocated his jaw last year and just popped it back into place and kept going.
Yep. Yeah, he's a tough kid, and that amazing tournament. Ran into a buzzsaw in Valdez in the finals, obviously, but still just a great kid, great tournament, and good career.
Yeah, for sure. Al, here's Joshua in the chat. Man, that 126 final between Kemble from Middleton and Keller from Preston was a marathon. That was one of the more hotly contested matches all weekend, no matter what the classification was.
Oh, yeah. They wrestled tough, and it just came down. You can see these guys, they both wanted it, but it just came down to just, luck and just, grit, true grit. So that's what we love to see.
For sure. Michael Monroe, same situation for the 215-pounder as a 190-pounder for the first. Dillis secured Blackfoot the 3rd place trophy with that first place finish. John Blaisdell says I could keep going. Nider, Saxton, Mesher, 5A was fun to watch. Crazy good tournament. Couple of 150 winners at state this past weekend. Congratulations to Jordan Tyler for getting his 150th career win. And shout out to Grayson Molina crossing the 150 win mark at the state tournament. in the quarterfinals as well. That's awesome to see. Michael says District 6 has tons of tough wrestlers. Then he says, let's see the stats for 5A. Okay. Ask and you shall receive, Michael. Here we go. 5A by the numbers. Al, did anything really surprise you when you were compiling this data?
I figured there would be a freshman state placer, but that didn't come to fruition. I think this is the only division where they didn't have a freshman state placer. But the statistic that is across the board, if you look at the top 6 seeds, 80 to 81% of them will place in the state tournament. So that's the one that's probably the most consistent. But overall, the rest of them, now that's about normal.
Okay. Interesting there. Okay. A couple comments, and then we'll wrap up the show because I wanted to keep this to about an hour since everybody came on for the full hour tonight. Kevin says, shout out to the officials, especially the representatives from District 4. Great job. Yeah, Fred, that is probably the least glamorous job there is, maybe outside of coaching, right? Coaching and officiating. Those are the 2 toughest jobs.
Yeah, I love our officials, especially the District 4 guys. We get along with them really well. They do a good job. So I think we had 7 of our officials at the state tournament from District 4. It was cool.
And I agree. Our officials from District 1, 2 are fantastic, and we just appreciate those guys. Some of the most patient humans we know.
Yes, absolutely. Here's Coach Nider. 6 champions from Southeast Idaho was awesome. Of course, I love having 2 from Idaho Falls. Go Tigers. Coach Nider, of course, coach at Idaho Falls. Moscow Bears Wrestling in the chat. District 1, 2 had a good showing for 5A. A lot of medals went north. Yes, they did. It was so much fun to see. We'll wrap it with this. Tyson says, keep the tournament in Pocatello. Perfect venue. Tiffany and Brian say, sorry, gotta disagree. And we will let that fuel all of the off-season chatter here as we go into the off-season. But Fred, as we all know, there really isn't an off-season. Now these competitors are going to start doing their Team Idaho, practices and getting ready for those competitions. In terms of the calendar, what can wrestling fans expect, coming up on the horizon? What's the quote-unquote off-season schedule look like?
Well, 2 weeks from now is USA Folk Style Nationals in Iowa. Should be a good showing there. And then 2 weeks from there is the Women's Nationals held in Spokane, Washington. And that's the qualifier for the Pan Ams. Still hoping to get a girl on one of those teams. So I think we got the girls to do that this year. So we'll see.
Yeah. And Val, you're going to be busy this off season as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. We start with our incoming freshmen, our current 8th graders, and this starting tomorrow. We just start teaching them the rules of freestyle and slowly integrate them into spring season. So very excited about that. And plus all the high school girls will jump on they'll go out to tournaments and hopefully get themselves qualified for Team Idaho, and we'll get to spend all summer with them. So very exciting, but no, we just keep going.
For sure. And then I'm trying to remember, because with all the state championship events going on, I've got 5 million texts that I'm going back and forth. You're working on some certification this off season as well, right, Val?
Yeah. For the last couple of years, I've been working on the USA Silver Coaches certification. And so the last step is Silver College at Women's Nationals, and very excited. They actually did that on the West Coast. And once that's done, first day of Women's Nationals, I'll be a USA Silver certified coach. So it's been a long process. I'm very excited.
Only 2 coaches in the state that have that. She'll be the 2nd coach in the state to have that. Pretty cool.
That's awesome.
It's
Congratulations.
Pretty exciting, and I encourage any coach that wants to start that journey to please reach out to me. I would love to help and get them connected. And then for any female coaches, Wrestle Like a Girl will pay for you to get your bronze certification through USA Wrestling. So please reach out if you have any questions.
That's awesome. Congratulations as well, Val. That's incredible. So Val and Fred both, thank you for coming on all season long, taking time out of your busy schedules to talk girls wrestling with us every single week here on the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast. We've really appreciated having both of you on to lend your expertise. So thank you both. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. This has been fun.
Yeah. And then, Brian and Al, we've been doing this for 3 years now.
Crazy.
Do my people have to call your people, or can I get a commitment? Can we?
We're here as long as we can do it. We're here, baby.
I'll be back.
I love it. We'll get the band back together. And again, kind of what we're going to do programming wise, we're not going to be on every week. We only do that during the high school season. But as noteworthy things happen, we may come on for a special Matt Chat Prepcast. And if that happens, we'll put an announcement at all of our social media, IdahoSports.com, Facebook page, X account, Instagram, and you'll know if we're coming on with a special, off-season edition of something exciting or noteworthy happens. But yeah, another season in the books. Congratulations to all of our outstanding wrestlers that competed this past week. And a big thanks once again to Green Solutions for sponsoring not just the Matt Chat Prepcast, but all of our wrestling coverages here, the rankings, all the articles that Al writes. That's how we pay Al's hefty salary, is through Green Solutions. So we appreciate it for sure. So for Al Fontes, Val Johansson, Brian Zollinger, and Fred Bartlett, I'm Brandon Bainey, and thank you, wrestling diehards, for tuning in one last time. If you could hit the like button and share this when it's all said and done, that'll help everybody who wasn't here live tonight find it a little easier on replay. But until then, enjoy Folk Style Nationals. Enjoy all of the other Team Idaho competitions that are coming up, and we'll see you back here next season for another season of the Matt Chat Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com.